Imagine two people, both in their early 30s, both work full-time jobs, both earn solid incomes. On paper, they look almost identical, but something happened between them that nobody talks about. And it happened so quietly that even they didn't notice it at first. One of them will retire in their 50s without stress. The other will work until 70, hoping the money lasts. Same age, same opportunity, completely different futures. And the strangest part? If you walked past both of them on the street tomorrow, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. In fact, the one who'll retire early might be the one you least expect. Because there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. A big one. And once you know what to look for, you start noticing it everywhere. Not in bank statements, in behavior. So what separates them? How does someone quietly end up financially free while someone else with the same paycheck feels stuck? Here are 7 quiet signs that reveal who's building real wealth and who's just spending like they are. And this is the first one that trips everyone up. Picture yourself walking through a parking lot. You see 2 cars. One is brand new, polished, wrapped in that new car shimmer, luxury badge, the kind that makes people turn their heads. The other car is older, practical, a few scratches, the kind of reliable sedan that gets you where you need to go and doesn't need attention. Most people assume the person in the luxury car is wealthier. They're wrong almost half the time. Here's why. The person financing the luxury car is making a daily choice. Spend money today to look successful. The person in the practical car made that choice years ago, and then stopped making it. You see, rich is what people see. It's the performance, the watch, the designer label, the vacation posted online. It's all designed for an audience. Wealthy is what they don't see. It's the person in normal clothes, driving a reliable car, living in an unremarkable house, who simply doesn't need anyone to confirm they're doing okay. Think about this. How much of what you own is there to impress other people, not to make you happy, to make them think a certain thing about you? The wealthy person looked at that calculation and decided the cost was too high. And the moment they stopped spending to look successful, they had room to actually become successful. Watch someone closely the moment something breaks. The water heater dies, a surprise bill arrives, a medical expense nobody planned for. For most people, that moment triggers something immediate. A sinking feeling, a scramble, that quiet panic that says, "How am I going to cover this?" But if you're paying attention, you'll notice something different in certain people. Calm, sometimes even indifference. Not because they don't care, because they've already planned for this moment. Here's the thing, a financial emergency doesn't just cost money, it costs peace. And that peace is often the real difference between two people with similar paychecks. You see someone stay calm in a crisis, and you're not just seeing money, you're seeing years of quiet planning. Months of choosing to keep $500 instead of upgrading to the newer model. Discipline that looked boring while it was being built. That's the invisible sign, not the absence of problems, the presence of preparation. Because someone making $100,000 a year with no safety net might panic at a $3,000 surprise. But someone making $50,000 with 6 months of expenses saved? That same surprise is just an inconvenience. That's real wealth, not income, it's peace. Here's where the gap starts to widen, and it happens so slowly that almost nobody notices. Imagine 2 paychecks, exactly the same, $60,000 a year. One person gets it and immediately asks, "What can I buy?" The first upgrade feels good, new car, they're making more money, they deserve it. Payments are high, but manageable. A few months pass, another purchase, a bigger apartment, another payment, then gadgets, then subscriptions, then a vacation they finance. Each decision makes sense individually. Each one feels deserved. But together, they create a life where almost every dollar that comes in is already spoken for before it arrives. the other person gets the same paycheck and asks a different question. What can this money do for me? Same money. Completely different question. Instead of a new car, they buy the reliable used one outright. Instead of the expensive apartment, they find something good enough and pay it off faster. The money left over doesn't disappear. It works. Investments. A small business side income. An asset that generates money even while they sleep. Years pass. On the surface, the first person looks wealthier. Nicer car, better address, more impressive things. But underneath, something is happening that nobody sees. The first person is getting poorer. Their obligations are growing faster than their income. Their paycheck owns them. The second person is quietly getting richer. Not because they make more, because every dollar they spend is a choice, not a necessity. And the money that's left is working for them. Fast forward 10 years. The gap is obvious. Not because anyone got lucky, because one person kept asking, "What can I buy?" And the other kept asking, "What can this money do?" Here's a simple test. Ask someone what they want more of. Most people say money. Ask a truly wealthy person, and they'll often say something different. Time. Because here's the secret nobody tells you. At some point, money stops being the goal. Freedom becomes the goal. And freedom is measured in time. You notice it in little moments. They'll pay extra to avoid standing in line. They'll hire someone to do something they could do themselves. They'll leave a job that pays well because it demands too much of their life. To someone chasing money, this looks insane. You're making great money, why would you leave? But the wealthy person made a quiet realization. Money without time isn't wealth. It's just a bigger prison. Think about it. If you could have your perfect life in two versions, version A, a huge paycheck but you work 80 hours a week, or version B, a modest income but your time is yours, which would you choose? Most people would choose A initially. But the wealthy person chose B long ago because they realized that the point of money was never the money. It was the life the money bought. And the first purchase with truly wealthy money is almost always more time. Time to work on things that matter. Time with people they love. Time to think. Time to rest. Time to not answer emails. That's when someone shifts from chasing money to building wealth. That's when you know they're not just earning, they're thinking like someone wealthy. Here's a habit you'll find in almost every wealthy person, and it's boring enough that most people never copy it. They pay themselves first, not at the end of the month when they see what's left. At the beginning, before they ever get their hands on the money, the paycheck arrives. Automatically, without them thinking, money moves into investments, into savings, into assets. Then they live on what remains. Most people do the exact opposite. They spend first, hope something survives, and are surprised when almost nothing does. Then they wonder why they're stuck on the financial treadmill. But the wealthy person removed the decision. They made it automatic. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to have willpower. The system does the work for them. And here's what's genius about it. Every month, they never see that money. So they never miss it. They never adapt their lifestyle around it. It just compounds, quietly, invisibly, until one day they wake up and realize they have real wealth. The difference between wealth and being broke isn't willpower or discipline. It's the system. It's removing the decision entirely and making the right choice automatic. This is where the mindset completely separates. Most people's financial world is short-term. Paycheck arrives, bills get paid, repeat. The wealthy person is playing a different game entirely. They think in years, decades, sometimes generations. Watch them make a decision. They don't ask, "What does this cost me this month?" They ask, "Where will I be in 20 years if I do this?" It's why they can watch an investment drop 50% and not panic. They're not looking at this month. They're looking at this decade. Markets fall, markets rise. They know this. They've planned for this. It's why they'll skip a pleasure today, for something much bigger tomorrow, not out of deprivation, out of clarity about what actually matters, and it shows up in what they measure. Most people track income. How much did I make this month? It feels good in the moment. The wealthy person tracks net worth. What do I actually own? Where is it heading? Income is a moment. Net worth is the whole story. When someone shifts from asking how much did I earn to asking how much am I actually building, that's wealth thinking. This is the deepest one, the one that underlies all the others. The wealthy person made a quiet decision at some point. It might have been conscious or it might have been gradual, but they made it anyway. My life is for me, not for the audience. And the moment they made that choice, everything changed. Think about how much money gets spent purely to be seen. The upgrade that's not an upgrade, it's a signal. The label so someone will notice. The experience posted for approval. So much wealth is spent by people who haven't realized that they're buying other people's opinions, not buying their own happiness. The wealthy person looked at that trap and decided not to enter it. And the moment they stopped spending for the eyes of others, the gap appeared. Because that money that everyone else was burning just to look good, the wealthy person kept it, invested it, let it compound. There's a calm, quiet confidence in wealthy people that can't be bought. It's the confidence of someone who doesn't need your validation, who already knows their own worth, who stopped checking whether others were impressed. That's not something you can fake with a purchase. That's something that only comes from a decision, the decision to care what you think about yourself more than what anyone else thinks about you. So there they are, 7 signs that reveal who's building real wealth. They don't look wealthy. They stay calm in emergencies. They buy assets, not just stuff. They value time over money. They automate their wealth. They think in decades. And they have absolutely nothing to prove. Notice something? Almost none of these are about income. They're not about how much you earn. They're about how you think, how you choose, what you value. That means real wealth isn't reserved for people lucky enough to have huge incomes. It's built by anyone willing to think this way, starting from wherever they are right now. The person making $40,000 a year who understands these principles will build more real wealth than the person making $200,000 who doesn't. So here's the question that matters. How many of these 7 are you already doing? Which one hit different? Be honest, drop the number in the comments. I'd genuinely love to know which sign resonated most, because that tells me where your own wealth-building journey is right now. And if you recognized yourself in any of these, if something in this shifted how you think about money, then subscribe. Because this channel is built on one simple belief: understanding the psychology of money so you can quietly build the real thing. I'll